Hey everybody, it's Lori with the Catch Pocket Podcast, and tonight, episode 42, Lisa Hiddle. Lisa Hiddle's a jazz musician, playing the baritone jazz, so why not? Let's do this. Before we get started, I just want to mention out there about the COVID Omicron wave we're experiencing right now. I guess I'll be catching up with you guys in a few weeks, but it's getting better, but it's kind of terrible out there right now, guys. And I wish I knew of at least 2 ways that we could avoid or at least try to eliminate the spread of COVID. I don't know. What could they be? Oh, I don't know. Let's ask the president. Hey, Joe, do you have any ideas?
We have two key ways of protecting ourselves against COVID-19. 1, safe, free, and effective vaccines. And 2, masks.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. So yeah, wear your mask. Get your vaccines. Boost up, guys. We can do this. Jesus Christ. All right, with that, here's my guest, number 42, Lisa Hiddle. Enjoy. I'm here with Lisa Hiddle. She's a jazz saxophone player here in Wichita, Kansas, and she is going to tell us a little bit more about herself and what she does and everything, her life. Lisa, thanks for coming on the podcast today.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, so on the Catch a Pocket podcast, we talk about you. So we want to know about your life. Were you born here in Wichita?
No, I grew up in Winfield, Kansas.
Winfield. Mm-hmm. And did you live there all your life?
I did up until the time I went away to college, yeah.
And where'd you go to college?
I went for my first degree at Kansas State University.
Kansas State? Mm-hmm. Okay. And what was your degree in? Was it music?
It was. It was a woodwind performance degree.
Okay. And what types of instruments did you play?
Well, I was really only a saxophone player when I went there, but I started playing bassoon and ended up playing a lot of bassoon, and then also studying clarinet, flute, pretty much everything except oboe is what I kind of became proficient at.
Okay. That's really interesting. So, okay, so when you went to school in Winfield, did you go to public school or a private school?
No, I went to public school.
And were you interested in music even then?
Yes. That's kind of where it was born. I started playing clarinet in 4th grade and didn't particularly love it. And when I went on to 7th grade, at that time, Winfield was a 7 through 12 school, junior high and senior high, all in one school. And I had gone in one day to tell the band director that I just really didn't care about playing clarinet anymore and I was going to quit band. And he said, well, have you ever thought about playing saxophone? And I said, well, no, not really. And he said, well, we have a jazz band here. I think actually they called it then a stage band. That was kind of the old name for it.
Okay.
And he said, I really need a baritone saxophone player in the band. And if you would, I'll give you one to take home. And if you would do that, I'll give you lessons and teach you how to play it. And he brought out this old kind of World War II vintage beat up baritone saxophone, which was almost as big as I was. Yeah. And, for whatever reason, I just fell deeply in love with it.
Really?
Yeah. And so he gave me some lessons, and I joined the jazz band, which was mostly older kids. Mm-hmm. And so that felt really special to me and kind of probably helped fueled my passion to keep doing
You just
that.
liked the
Yeah.
kids you were around, and you felt it
Yeah.
made you feel more mature or included or something?
Yeah, more included, I
Uh-huh.
think, I kind of felt like I had a niche,
Uh-huh.
and so it just kind of kept going from there.
So I'm fascinated because you know The Simpsons, right? So do you ever
Yeah.
get compared to The Simpsons, Lisa?
I will tell you, I have never watched an episode of The Simpsons. Not ever in my life, but I know about
You-
Lisa
I'm sure you
Simpson,
do, with
and
the-
people
because
have
of the
said-
stacks and
yeah,
everything.
People have said that.
Okay,
yeah,
I have
so.
to. I have to because so okay, let's go back to college, and you started playing, or you actually degreed in college at K-State. So
right.
then after that, what happened?
Well, kind of an interesting turn of events. My senior year of college, I was beginning to realize that I was going to graduate and really didn't know what I was going to do with this performance degree. And at that time, you could pretty easily go into one of the military service branches and just do music.
Oh,
And
okay.
so I kind of explored that and decided that the Navy was the route that I might want to go.
Okay.
And it was really a good way to make a living, good benefits.
And you played in the Navy band?
Well, I didn't. I went to the local recruiter there in Manhattan, and the first thing they do is give you some kind of a written test, which was all about, Navy things, and I failed miserably.
Okay.
And then I went back and said, "Look, I'm a musician. I just want to be in the band." And he goes, "Oh, well, okay." So they sent me to Kansas City for my Navy physical, and then from there they flew me to the Great Lakes base to audition because that was the closest naval base that had a band.
Okay.
So I stayed all night there, got up the next morning, auditioned. I talked to the guy, and he said, "Well, this is what we can offer you, So I said, "Well, that sounds great." And he said, "Well, go over to the commissary and eat lunch while we drop the paperwork, and then come back and we'll sign you delayed enlistment." So it meant that I actually enlisted that day, but then I got to go finish college, and
Okay.
then I would start, that summer.
Right.
So while I was eating lunch, this is way before cell phones, internet, any of that. There was a payphone, and I thought, I gotta call my roommate back in Manhattan and tell her what time to come pick me up at the airport. So I called her, and she said, the first thing she said was, "Have you signed anything yet?" And I said, "No, but I think I'm going to." And
Yeah.
she said, "Don't." And I said, "Well, no, it's a really good deal." And she said, "No. Stan Kenton's manager called here last night and offered you a job on the band."
Oh,
And that's
okay.
something I had always wanted to do.
Awesome.
So I went back and told the guy, and I know he thought I was lying to just, like I'd gotten cold feet or something.
I'm sure he's heard it all before.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, I flew back, and I actually was a little bit undecided about which way to go. But I, talked to some of my college buddies that night, and they said, "This is what you've always wanted to do. Don't pass up this opportunity. You
Right.
can go in the Navy anytime."
You can do this and then go in the Navy later.
Yeah. So, I don't know, 2 or 3 days later, I was on a plane to Portland, Oregon, and joined the Stan Kenton Band and traveled throughout the United States and Canada for about 10 months with that band.
Did you love it?
I did love it. It was a real experience that probably I was a little bit too young to totally take in and appreciate.
Okay. That makes
But,
sense. Yeah.
I was.
And how old were you then?
I was 22.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you were thinking about yourself and then not experiencing the outdoors and things like that? Is that what you're saying?
Well, just, musically, I'm not sure I was actually really ready for that. And I was the only female on the band.
Okay.
And all the guys were great.
Right.
But it's, being out on the road is a difficult life when you're traveling 24/7 and
Right.
playing one-nighters every night. And, it was just a real different existence.
Right.
But a fantastic opportunity that that later opened many, many doors for me.
Yeah, okay. From people that you met and things that you learned and that
Yeah,
kind of
and
thing.
just kind of having that on your resume when you
Sure.
could say that, like, well, I played with Stan Kenton. People kind of would go, oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
So you must be the real deal.
Yeah. Awesome. So, okay, you did that, you said, for 10 months.
10 months.
Traveled the United States and Canada.
Right.
And then what happened there?
Well, so the band in August, late August of '78, played their last gig. They were supposed to take a break for a couple months and go back. So I went back to K-State to finish my last semester because I had dropped out of school to go.
Okay.
And I had credits I had to finish. So I went back and did that. And then in the meantime, Stan Kenton got really ill and never went back out.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So I played the last job that he ever played because we didn't go back out. So,
Okay.
Yeah. So from there, I ended up moving to Vancouver, Canada.
Cool.
I had a friend up there and lived up there and played and taught privately for 3 or 4 years.
Is it beautiful there?
It is beautiful there. Yeah.
Is it peaceful there?
Yeah.
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 It seems like it. Like whenever I see pictures and things, I'm
Yeah.
thinking, man, it's so lush. And
Yeah, one of the cool things was, I mean, it's right on the ocean, but yet there's mountains too. So within an hour, you could either be on the beach or in the mountains.
that's really
you know?
cool.
Yeah.
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 There's a lot more outdoors things to do
Uh-huh.
and appreciate. I feel like when you get to the places with beauty, like the ocean or in the mountains.
Right.
There's beauty here, but it's different, and I don't think people appreciate the
Yeah.
beauty here.
Yeah, right.
That's why we have so much litter here.
Yeah.
Because you never see anyone litter on the coasts. Or,
Yeah.
I mean, someone would get them if they did or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So, okay. So you went there and lived for how long? 3 years?
A little over 3 years. Yeah.
And you taught and you had a degree. And then what happened to make you want to make another move?
Well, I ran into immigration problems. When I went, it was just real easy. There weren't,
Right.
between the borders and you could work, but then it kind of started tightening up. And so I came back to Wichita, really not intending to stay long term. And that was 40 years ago.
Okay.
And I'm still here.
For the full 40 years you've been here?
I've been here since
Oh,
1980.
okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, you said you were raised in Winfield,
Uh-huh.
but you came back to Wichita. Did your family come to Wichita from Winfield? Or?
No, I mean, my parents still lived in Winfield, but
Mm-hmm.
I had some friends here, and there were some playing and teaching opportunities here.
Okay.
Winfield's really small
Yeah,
town. So,
yeah.
yeah. So,
So there were job opportunities
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Wichita. So you came back to Wichita
Yeah.
and you started doing what?
Well, I immediately started teaching private lessons at both Starkey Music, which is no longer there, and Cincinnati Music, which is no longer there.
Yeah, yeah.
And
The internet kind of took care of those.
and then there was a guy in Wichita named Newt Graber. And Newt was kind of, at that time, we called him the gig king of Wichita. He had a quartet, a 7-piece band, a big band, and a rodeo band. And he was working constantly.
Oh, wow. Cool.
And so I went to work for him. And I was playing pretty much in all of his groups for years.
So every gig that they would do there, you would have at
Yeah.
least a paycheck for that,
Exactly,
right? So
yeah.
that kept you, going
Yeah.
and keep going. So you did that for how long?
Well, I've kind of never stopped private teaching.
Okay.
Uh,
You kind of kept up
and
with it.
playing. Newt died kind of unexpectedly. Oh gosh, I don't know what year it was. It was in the 90s. But by that time I was pretty well established musically and able to,
Find the gigs and stuff.
keep playing,
Right.
with
Or
other
be
people
someone.
and under my own name and that type of thing.
Okay. And that's kind of what got you to branch out to your own name after Newt was kind of you going on your own. And you're kind of doing that sort of thing too, which is getting gigs for events.
Right.
Okay, so you do that a lot?
Yeah. You know, I in 1989, I started teaching at Friends University.
Okay.
And they really didn't have a jazz program when I started teaching there. They had a jazz band that had kind of incomplete instrumentation and really wasn't very good.
Right.
But I had a lot of really great support over the 30 years that I was there and built a really incredible jazz program for a small university.
I was going to say, they have a good reputation now of jazz band.
You know, we had 2 full jazz bands and a jazz vocal ensemble and 4 combos. And
that's great.
You know, we won a lot of competitions and, you know, both taped and live, and did international travel. I took the group to Europe twice and Cuba.
And you were the
once.
teacher. You were the professor.
Yeah, I was the head of the jazz department.
And did you obtain any other degrees while you were doing that?
I did. Early on when I was at Friends, I went back to get my, before I was at Friends, I went to Wichita State and did a second bachelor's degree in music education.
Okay.
Because I thought I might end up teaching public school.
Okay.
Which I did for a while as a sub, but I never did it like as a full-time career.
Okay.
And then after I was at Friends, I went back to Wichita State again and did a master's degree, actually in clarinet performance.
Clarinet, which is the thing you started.
Right.
And you didn't really prefer. But now you like it a lot.
Well, actually, now I don't play clarinet anymore at all.
Why not?
You know, I just, you know, most of my work was on saxophone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think to be a really proficient clarinet player, you really got to put in the time and be playing it all the time. And I just wasn't doing that. So once I retired from Friends, I just pretty much officially put that away.
Okay.
Just play
That's understandable.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So, is there anything in there that I'm missing that you want to highlight or spotlight of your life that that you're proud of or want to bring out?
Well, you know, the way I got started with all of the booking of groups and supplying different groups for events and different restaurants around town, that all started at Friends. I ended up having some really, really great students, and I felt like it would be a really important part of their education to go out and be playing live. And so I started just kind of doing that, you know, to give the students a way to get out and get some practical experience and make some money, you know. And it became a really good sort of recruiting tool for me, because if there was a really good student I was trying to recruit, I would say, hey, you know, come be a part of the Friends program and I can get you out working all these gigs, and, which I did. And you know, most of a majority of the musicians that I now work with and book are former students.
Okay.
Yeah. And some colleagues too that ended up coming and teaching as adjuncts for me. I play with a lot too.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's really great. And that reminded me of, you know, when I see bands play, let's say they're starting out and they're getting ready to do a run, a tour run, small tour run, they always will start here with their first show, and then they'll come around and do these shows, and then they'll come back and you'll hear the difference.
Yeah.
And so it really does, when you go out there and actually play live, it really does make a lot of difference in advancing your play.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Plus, you know, you just learn a lot of other things that you can't really be taught in a classroom about being a professional and dealing with the public and, you know, just all those types of things.
Yeah, and all the little circumstances and that could happen.
Yep.
And dealing with a drunk person or any
dealing
kind of
with money and club owners and taxes and, you know, all those types of things.
Yeah.
You know, there's just a lot to
you don't even think about, well, you know, you're
Exactly.
thinking we're just going to go do this thing.
Yeah.
And it's no big deal. And then it turns out to be something more.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's neat that you're able to at least assist people in getting their foot in the door and experiencing or having the experience to be able to let them know what's to come, you know.
Yeah.
So that's cool. So on Lisa, on the Catch a Pocket podcast, I always like to ask my guests if they have a story of inspiration that they could share. And it doesn't have to be necessarily personal, but just any story of inspiration that you'd like to share with the audience.
Well, I guess, what comes to mind for me is just my own personal experience, because, I don't think that I was born with any kind of talent. So, a lot of people, like to say, oh, you're so talented. Well, I have never considered myself to be talented, and I still don't. But, the things that I've been able to do really have been, I think, in part luck and in part hard work and perseverance. So I just think for anybody out there that really has, a goal and a passion, that's my inspiration. Is you just have to work hard and stay with it.
Yeah.
And
if you do
good
that,
things can happen.
Yep. I agree 100%. So with that, do you have things in the future that you want to talk about right now? Or do you have, what's your email address, how to get in contact with you if they want to book an event or something like that and they're listening to this?
Well, I have a website, and it's just LisaHittleJazzPlus.com.
Okay.
And
the plus is spelled out PLUS?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that's probably the best way to get in touch with me is through that website.
Okay.
And my email address is, I have kept my Friends University email address because I'm a professor emeritus, and that's one of the benefits of that is you get to keep your email address.
Cool. Yeah.
So it's kind of strange. It's HITTLL, which is not how you spell my last name, @friends.edu.
Because your name is Lisa, they put the extra L at the end, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So, is there anything else that we need to cover that you haven't covered?
I might mention that I have a son, Nathan, who's 35, who's a really, really great jazz piano player. Mm-hmm. He decided to become a lawyer, and he lives in Virginia. But when he was growing up, we played together a lot. He ended up going to Friends University for his undergrad.
Okay.
And
was his undergrad in music or was it law?
Law. Well, it was actually sociology, but went into law. But
cool.
But he did a lot of music, and was very involved in the jazz groups over there, and so that's been a fun thing to kind of be able to pass that on.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
So many of the students that I was privileged to work with over the years, I have stayed in really close contact with, and it's just a joy to watch their careers now.
Yeah.
Branching out and blossoming. And,
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on and catching a pocket with me.
Yeah.
And come back anytime, and we'll talk about whatever's coming up in your life.
Sounds great.
All right. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks.
All right. Well, that was Lisa Hittle, everyone, and I really appreciate you guys for listening tonight. Hit me up if you have any other ideas. I always am open for new ideas and concepts and just to have a little bit of fun. So you got me on Catch a Pocket. I'll put the links to all Lisa's stuff in the notes section of the podcast, and I hope you guys catch a pocket you can be proud of. Good night, Wichita.